Hello everyone, it's Mary Beth, and today I'm going to walk you through how you can use Materio as a design build cost plus firm. So there are a lot of business models that you can use in our system, but I wanted to make a specific demo on this to demonstrate how you could transfer from a system like Buildertrend into Materio and what those nuances and specific things might be that you'll use and how it actually might be much easier. So let's dive in. So when you log into Materio, you're going to land in your project dashboard. This is going to be a hub for all of your projects, your tasks, and you'll see that there are estimates and then there are live projects. This is just your general starting point, and we'll get into what an estimate and a live project means later. But when you land here, the first thing that you're going to want to do is actually set up your leads. So one of the first things about getting a project is getting that lead and understanding all of the information about that lead and taking notes on that initial consultation or site visit. So up here on the top left of your dashboard, there's a tab called Leads. Now you can set up your questionnaire. We have a separate video on that. But what I wanted to showcase is that even if you're already using another system and you want to bring in a new lead that's still in the lead phase, you can come here and just manually add in this lead. So we're going to go ahead and add in a lead, and then you'll see that I have one lead right here. It's a new build for 1200 Russell. Now I could always come in and edit this contact information if I needed to. I could add in internal notes about the phone calls I've had with them, and then I can also upload attachments here. So this might be a place for you to upload attachments from this project, from the initial consultation, maybe pictures they've shared with you via email. So it's not incredibly automated from an email perspective, but it is a place for you to store that information in Materio. If you're ready to send over that pre-construction or design agreement, you're going to come here and click Send Contract. You can name this whatever you want. I'm going to do pre-construction agreement. And then I'm just going to paste in the body of my agreement. Now you're going to go in and want to customize these things. This is a pretty simple contract builder. There's not a lot of customization here, but hopefully this will work for you. So then I'm going to go ahead and send this over. The client that's going to sign this is going to be the one that was already on the lead. So I'm going to go ahead and send this. Just a reminder that you can customize the email message here before you send it over. So I have sent that over. And you'll see that it is now pending right here. I can click it and view more information about it. And then after they have signed that pre-construction agreement, it will come through as signed and you will all get a copy. When your client gets the contract, they will read through it. They have the ability to sign and submit it to you. Once they have signed that agreement, it'll be moved over to engaged, and you will see that it's right here. The construction, the signed agreement is here. I can see the signature and the date. And then I can also start a new project directly from this. So what I'm going to do next is start that project and collect a retainer before I start working on the design. So I'm going to go ahead and it's going to be pre-populated here. I'm actually going to call it, the 100 Russell Street, 1000 Russell Street, and do the last name like this because that's my preferred format. The address is going to be pre-populated there. If you need to change it, you can. What is the budget? I'm going to go ahead and set the budget for this project. And then if any of your team members need to be added, you can do that right now. We have started this project, and here's where you will start from either uploading floor plans or creating a board. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and upload a floor plan because I have one, and I feel like most of the time when we're at this point in the project, we probably do. So I'm going to add that one in. Now this is totally optional. If you want to go ahead and skip ahead to this and send the retainer, you can. So I'm going to head over to finances, billing, and before I start really any work on this project, I'm going to make sure that I collect a retainer. So in this case, I don't have a client invited to this project yet, but if I go in and look for this client, they should be there. And if they're not there, then you would just go ahead and add them in. So I'm going to add should be there if they were on your account before. And I'm going to call this design retainer. And this is just to lock them in. You could also do this through a deposit, but because we don't have anything on our scope of work yet, I'm going to do this as a retainer. And I'm just going to add in the amount that I need to collect. And then I'm going to go ahead and send that over. I'm going to go ahead. In this case, I'm just going to mark it as paid for this demo. We'll say that we received a check. Maybe that was at the initial meeting or something like that, or contract signing. You received that check. You can go ahead and put that in. Next step of this project is actually going to be to build out the actual estimate or proposal. So you've told them in your agreement that you are going to give them something. You've probably given them a ballpark number, but now it's time to look at the floor plans and actually figure out what needs to go into this house. Now we haven't signed a construction agreement yet. This is just us speccing this out, providing providing an estimate, building out a schedule, and then putting in some selections. Eventually, we'll get to the point where we sign a construction agreement if they want to move forward. So let's estimate this project. We have a lot of videos on how to estimate, so I'm not going to dive deep into this in this video, but one thing I will note is that you can start using your scope starter. This is going to make it really easy to spell out what is needed, what type of rooms are going to be here. Of course, you can add in custom rooms. If there's anything custom here, you can, and then hit next. This is where you're going to be able to select your services and your categories of work. Most of these are going to map to cost codes, but they're going to be a simplified version, and you can outline what it is that you're wanting to propose here. So general requirements, you're probably doing plans, permits, daily cleanup, etc. Use all of these to your advantage and go ahead and spell out what is needed. Now, part of this, part of your agreement might be to just provide them design, but part of it might be to also estimate what it would actually cost to build this out, while also figuring out sort of the design of the space and customizing that construction estimate to the design that they have selected. So we're going to go ahead and just add in some selections here, right? And we're going to hit next. And then we're going to set up our budgets. Now, depending on how you like to operate as a firm, you can do this by category or by location. I tend to want to do this by category. So I'm going to go ahead and put in some totals here. And then I'm also going to spell out what I think we're going to need for each of these categories. All right, so you'll see that I'm getting close to my budget, and that is my project total, which I can always adjust later. Now, as a design build cost plus firm, you're going to be putting a fee on top of your project. So we're going to go ahead and say that we're doing 20%, and we're going to make that our default. Oftentimes, you're going to be buying retail, perhaps. So we're going to put our retail or our vendor tax here, and that we are not collecting sales tax from the client. Now, if you are running wholesale relationships and actually buying wholesale and charging tax, of course, you can customize that here, but most firms that are design build are not. So now you can see that I already have an estimate that has started. I'm going to jump ahead to having an estimate built out so that we don't have to dive deep into that now. I have this project built out now, and I wanted to just show you that I can put my profit, overhead, and any other fees down here. So you're going to outline the types of fees that you like to show your client here. You could do your general liability insurance. You could add a small tool surcharge. Whatever the fees are, this is going to be a percentage or a flat fee on top of your project. So this is the way that most design build cost plus firms are running their projects and showcasing their fees to their clients. So now that I have these fee structures set up, I've started to kind of put in an estimate for all of the selections that are needed. You'll notice that actually a lot of the construction items I don't have budgets for, but all of the selections I am putting in budgets for. And this is just an idea because we're in the sort of design phase. What is it that they want to select? And once they select those, we will customize the construction estimate accordingly. So I have this in, and now the next part of this is going to be actually inviting my client into the project and inviting my team that needs to see this information into the project as well. So I'm going to go over here to the top right, and I'm going to go ahead and do add team members. My team members who are part of my project or part of my account are already going to show up right here. So I'm going to add them in. And what this is going to do is just allow them to get alerts about this project. Even if they're not technically on this project, they can still have access to it and see it. But this is going to put it at the top of their list in the mobile app, the top of the list in the app, and it's also going to give them an alert that they've been shared to this project. So if it's the project manager, superintendent, or anyone who's going to be working on this that has access to Materio, be sure and share them at the top. Now, when I'm ready to send this proposal over to my client sort of for a first view, maybe we're planning to have a design meeting and I want them to want to give them a little bit of time to review this budget and this sort of proposal before we meet, I'm going to go ahead and invite client. Now I'm going to add in my client here. This is where you can control what they see. If you want to do fully detailed because you are cost plus, you can do that. It's really not that necessary. I think it's better to sort of just do prices on each item. It's still pretty transparent. Because you're not adding a markup to your items, it shouldn't really matter. So we're going to do that and then send this invitation over. And so now we have our client invited to the project as well as our team members that are supposed to be there. One thing I didn't note, but I wanted to note while we're here is that while you're estimating and you're building out your project and you're doing all this work, be sure that you're actually tracking against this project and make sure that you're tracking estimating, because until you've officially maybe won this job, or even if you're going to bill your clients for the hours that you're working in this design agreement, make sure that you're tracking that time. It's going to help you know your numbers. It's also going to make it really easy to bill for your client. So I'm actually going to backtrack about 6 hours of estimating here. Let me do this because I want to be able to bill for this eventually. So just know that that is there and that you can track it here. And if you are wanting to track daily, we also have a timesheet text tracking method, and there's a separate video on that. So I'll be sure to share that as a resource. So now that I've invited my client, I have tracked some time. You're probably going to sit down with your client in a pre-construction or a design meeting and go over this project together. Now, they may think $313,000 is way too much for them. In that case, we do have the scenario mode where you can go in and start to adjust things that they might want to remove. So if I go down here, they may say, well, let's remove that art light. It's a little much for us. Let's remove this and just do a pendant. Let's maybe not do the sconces in the bathroom. We'll just do a flush mount. And so you can kind of start to turn things off. And what this is going to do is immediately lower the budget. You'll see as I turn these off, it's going to immediately lower that budget. And so that's going to help you win the job and help them understand what's possible with the budget that they have. When I exit scenario mode, all of those items will be officially turned off, and here the budget will remain lower as you selected. Of course, if they want to bring those back, you can always just enter the scenario mode again and bring those items back. Now that we have agreed on a budget and we are sort of moving forward with the design, you're going to go in and actually add selections to your project. So I can come in and I can add in from my library. Let's see, we want to add in countertops here. Let's just say we pull in a few options. I'm going to do that. We're going to pull in the toilet. So the idea here is that you are simply pulling in products and you're going to then send these over to your client for approval so that they can make decisions about what they want. All right, so I've pulled in some products, and now let's just pretend that we've done this for our entire project. This is the moment where you're going to use Materio to get approval on those budgets. So I'm going to hit send. I'm going to, anything that's zero I might want to fix. I'm going to go ahead and send these over to my client. Once those are moved to awaiting approval, they're going to come in and approve them. We're going to just do it on our end for the sake of this demo. And now I have approved selections. So as you're doing sort of a design build, you're sort of speccing out the design at the beginning. You don't always have to put prices in here. There may be moments where you want to go in and get quotes on things, but you're sort of approving the design direction. That's totally okay. You could get it approved at $0. Later, you'll just have to go in and revise it or bring in a quote to get it approved. Some confirmed pricing. I'm going to go ahead and use this to get some quotes on what I want to present to them as far as construction goes. So in this case, I could go to the share view only links, and this is where I might want to create a category of, I might actually want to say, okay, we're doing the half bath upstairs, and I want to share all these plan pages with them. We're going to call this half bath, and I'm going to save it. What this is going to do is give me a link that I can send over to my subcontractor and ask them to quote. So I'm going to email this link over. It's going to be a live link. They don't have to log in. They can look at the work that I want to give them, and then they can send me an email back with a quote. Now, once I go in and I start to get quotes from my subcontractors or from my team, from my vendors, I can come in and add those into the system. So let's say that we have this electrical rough-in right here. I can come in and add in a quote. I can say that it's for the electrical rough-in. It's for the item itself because for this one, the electrical rough-in is the labor. I'm going to then upload a quote. Hit next. I'm going to put in the total amount that I see on my quote. I'm going to select my vendor. And then I'm going to put in my expiration date and save it. So that is how you would track a quote against something. And then if I want to come in and approve this, it's going to let you know that the cost is going to change based on your quote, and I'm going to approve that. And there you'll see my line item is approved. So as you're getting subcontractor or vendor quotes, you want to put those in, approve them, and it's going to override the estimate here. And that way your client can see a very updated version of what this looks like, what these quotes are impacting. And because you're cost plus, this is all very transparent. When your client logs in, they're going to be able to see all of these estimate line items. So if we view as our client, you can see that these are all haven't been priced yet, but if we scroll down to things that have been priced, your client can very easily click into these items, see what the estimated cost is. They can see what is not approved yet, and they can also see things that have been approved. So it's a great way for your client to easily see all of the information on a project. That construction contract signed, then you're going to want to push your project live. So right here on your dashboard, you'll find your project, and where it says estimate, you'll click it and you'll push live. Now your client's going to be notified that the project is going live, and they'll already be invited to the project, so it doesn't matter there. But the most important part is that the scope will be locked in, so that now if you make any changes, it'll prompt a change order in our system. So we're going to put this live. It's going to clear out of this space and go into the live project space. So we're going to open it up. When you have a live project, if there are any changes to pricing, if there are changes to adding or removing items, that is going to prompt a change order. You can also do this from your mobile app if needed. You can add in things. So let's say that we wanted to come in and we wanted to add in a price for this tree removal. I will click on the item and I will estimate that this is going to cost $3,500. When I save that, I'm going to say yes, add it to a change order. And you'll see that 2 trees at $3,500 is $7,000, and that change order has been drafted. So it's as easy as just making changes, and Materio is going to say, hey, wait a second, this is a live project. Let's see if we want to add that in. Of course, if you needed to add in, let's see, and we'll just put in another tree removal here as an example. I could save this, and I could also say no, save without approval. So that is an option. You can save it without approval if there are any kind of discussions that you've had and for some reason you don't want to add that to a change order, but we are here to protect you and make sure that all of those changes are added. Now, if I came in and I decided to remove something like this patio, I could remove this item, and again, it's going to ask me if I want to add it to a change order. So it really is that simple. I review and send. I will send it to my client, send that over to them. They will get an email to sign it. It's super easy for them to sign it on the client portal. But then worst case, if I'm playing catch up for some reason and I'm trying to input some change orders that were already agreed upon prior to being in Materio, I can always add it in and then force finalize it, and it's going to push it through. Once a change order has been signed, you'll be able to see it over on the finances tabs under scope changes. Now, normally your client would sign this, and so you would see that signature there. But if anything is forced through by you as the admin, it will still show here as well. There just won't be a signature on it. The cost plus firm, you want to make sure that when you're in your finances tab here, you actually have the ability to come in at the top here and click this and do cost plus open book. What this is going to do is allow your client to see all of these specifics around the finances. They're going to be able to see where things are at, where their selection's at, where the billing's at, where the expense is at. All of that is going to be visible to them. And so if you have curiosity around what they can see, again, you can come to the top here, click their icon and do view as. And because they are open book, they'll see this finances tab. They'll be able to see the billing, see the selections, see the expenses, and also the scope changes. So this opens up a whole new world where they can see information about the project without you having to figure out how to export and manipulate and send it over to them. To tracking expenses and getting those over to your client for billing purposes, you're going to do that by coming here. There are 2 ways that you can do this. So you can do this from the mobile app, where you'll be able to take a picture of the receipt and upload it. You can also come here and upload an attachment. Let's put this here. We're going to track our we're going to say, if you're connected to QuickBooks, you will have payment methods here. We could say that we use the business checking for this, the date of the expense. Optionally, you can put in your vendor here, and then you can also say that this is, maybe this was part of the framing package, and it goes with the rough carpentry, and then this is for the item itself, and it was $15,000. So you can add this in and save it. So this is going to be itemized to the framing item. And then you'll see that it links to QuickBooks over here if you're using QuickBooks. Now, the cool thing is that once I start to add expenses and I want to go in and invoice my client, I can simply come in and say invoice. I can add in expenses, and that is going to show up right there. And then I can add in more items here from my hours logged, and I can add those in right here. So whether or not you send invoices to your clients with all supplies and materials in one invoice or hours in the other, either way, they're both super easy to pull into an invoice. Your client will literally be able to click the backup right here. There's no re-uploading or printing or scanning in. You just have to put the expense in once. That's going to sync over to QuickBooks, which is great. And then it's going to be really easy to put on an invoice here. Same for the time. So as a cost plus firm, tracking your expenses in Materio is critical to getting those invoices very easily put onto an invoice with no additional work from your team or your accountant. So I'm going to send that over. Oh, and on this one, actually, I'm going to delete my time because you might not want to charge your profit and overhead on your time. So let's just do a separate time billing invoice. Very easily, I can clear that off of the invoice, turn those profit and overheads back on so that I can do it on top of my expenses and send that over. And then separately, I can go back in and in 2 shakes, I can just get this hours on, add it to the project, turn those off, call this my time billing, and send it over. All right, so now that those have been sent, let's say that I were to get a check. This is often the case when we're getting large amounts of money. I could come in and just say that I got a payment for the via check, and I can send that over or not and save it. So that's how you would apply a check payment. And again, that's also going to sync over to QuickBooks as well. About orders. So as you're ordering things, you want to get this through the system, documented as an expense against your project so you have your actuals, but you also want to make sure that you're pushing these additional costs onto the client. So if I open up this labor PO here, you'll see that that quote that I had added in earlier is right here for reference. I can go ahead and preview the email for the subcontractor. So I want to send this over to him. Maybe I want to add into the customization. I want to get this scheduled for next week. You can add in that so that they can reply to that email and then you can schedule it together. I'm going to have information there. I'm going to generate a technical PO, or Materio is rather. I'm going to have my quote there and I'm going to show this price to him. So I'm going to send this email over. This is going to let my subcontractor know that I do want to schedule that work and that I am going to commit to it. And now when I open this back up, I can track payments. So you know those time on a Friday when a subcontractor calls you and they really need to pay their team, so they need to collect some payment from you. You can very easily come in and say that you paid a partial payment on this. And if you're using QuickBooks, you can say business checking, and then you can even print checks later in QuickBooks. And what this is going to do is push this payment over to your QuickBooks account so that your accountant or whoever on your team has access can simply print out the check right there, and your subcontractor can swing by the office and pick it up. So this is really useful for paying those subcontractors in person. Now we get that can be a little bit old school, but often this is the way that people work. And so we do have this here for you. Of course, we're exploring other options where we have the ability to allow you to pay subcontractors through our system. But right now, this is the fastest method to do that. So I can track that payment, and then I'd also want to go ahead and just upload a receipt in that case, confirm it, and save it. So this is going to create an expense. It's going to ask me if I want to update the status to ordered. Because this is technically not a product, I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to hit save. All right, so if I were doing this with product, let's say that I'm actually coming in and I am adding product here. This case, I want to make sure that I am ordering this and then passing the cost along to my client. So I'm going to say that I've already placed this order online, as we often do. I'm going to upload just a receipt here. We will, for sake of this, pretend it's the same. What I'm going to do is match my line items. Does this look right? Does my tax look right? Does my shipping look right? You know, make sure that all of these totals line up. And then what I'm going to do is confirm it. And then I'm going to hit this little arrow right here that says save and update client prices. Now, because I'm wanting to push this price over to the client, because the cost has changed, I'm going to go ahead and do that. It's going to ask me what I want to pass on and what I want to absorb. I can edit the prices if I need to. And in this case, I'm really just passing on the additional shipping cost that I was given. So I'm going to save and close that. And that's going to save, and then it's going to pass on to my client so that when I go to invoice them next time for those line items, all of that is up to date. So speaking of invoicing for line items, the way that invoicing works in general in Materio for product and for scope of work is that I'm going to come in and add an invoice with project scope. So I can come in and actually just select anything that's here. Now, because most of your expenses you're going to be billing with backups, you're probably going to be doing your subcontractor labor through there, any miscellaneous expenses. But now what I'm going to do is come in and filter down by selected. And anything that has been approved by my client in this case, I'm going to go ahead and collect. Now you'll see that 2 of these we have approved prices that are different, where the client is actually paying less. So in this case, we're naturally going to issue a credit for you. If you didn't want to issue a credit, you could also just zero those out and we'll take it off the invoice. So I'm going to send this over. Again, I'm including my profit and overhead on this invoice because I want to make sure I'm getting paid each time for that, and then send it over. I think one of the biggest sort of caveats here, or the way that Design Build Cost Plus works, is that we've built this really great order system where you can pass the costs along, but right now there is no way to showcase the backups for purchase orders. So that's something that we're working on, is something that we're open to learning about, but there is the option to track all of your miscellaneous expenses and add those as items to your account. But you'll also notice that purchase orders come over as an expense. And so you don't want to double up on those expenses. You wouldn't want to run your subcontractor through a PO and then also through an expense. So that's something that I think we're still trying to figure out over here. And we're definitely open to figuring out a better way to get that. I think that's in the coming weeks and months. We'll probably be working on how we can make all of these functions better for Cost Plus. Super quick run through of how you can use Materio as a design build cost plus firm. I am sure I've forgotten about something, but I will be sure to tag a few additional small tutorials that are helpful in the areas that I find maybe this video was lacking. But I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us at hello@materio.co.